Hello, guys.
Hello.
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 Hey, good morning.
Hello. You hear me? Hello?
Yep.
Loudly and clearly.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So Trimi won't be joining us. She's still on vacation. Last week, I managed to add the cream flavor and give the tester drive on with CBT, but it turns out we somehow failed to report the status, the up-to-date status to managers. So it's failed to the test suite failed to wait for clean and active PG. So I need to fix that first. Otherwise, I need to disable this check just for Crimson test. But I'd prefer to fix it on the Crimson OT side. I think that's the next thing.
Currently it doesn't go clean. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, I believe it will be relatively simple. So I will work on that as in my next step. That's me. And Brad, anything to share?
No, I just thought I'd join and see what this was all about.
Okay.
Hello, Brad.
Hello, Brett.
Hey, Sam. How you going?
Nice to
Hey,
have you.
Rada.
Hello.
Hey,
Hello to everyone.
And Ridek, how's it going?
First of all, I've sent the final version last week. I've sent the final version of the modification to Crimson OSD, making it using that makes using it the input buffer factory. Finally, we have merging the merging of adjacent buffer pointers work as expected. I updated the PR and posted also a new iteration of the results of new iteration of performance comparison. Basically, there is small improvement. I believe it's because we are not creating temporary buffer pointers over and over. Second I'm working right now is integration with integration the performance testing with CI/CD. I made a small small change that I believe will be useful for larger testing. It's basically about bypassing the rights to memstore and SeaStor. It allows to have much longer runs that will be necessary for max or something like that. Otherwise, we will exhaust the capacity of memory in a second. That's all from my side.
By enabling that option will render the SeaStor a black hole. Is that correct?
No, a black hole is different. Black holing is at submit transaction. It causes that entire transaction is basically a NOP. This is much more selective. It's the same option we have in BlueStar.
Okay.
And by the way, I would love to finally decide about the proposal we are going to send to SeaStor Devil. To SeaStor Devil,
probably we can continue discussion after the stand up.
Sure.
And
you say?
And how's it going on your side? Anything to share?
We were talking to, sorry, I missed your the voice. To me?
Yeah.
Okay. So nothing much to share. I'm going over code, the latest code of the operations, and did some one question. I'm not sure if this is the place, but the exit in handling ordered pipeline phase. Sam?
Sorry, what's that? The pipelines?
You have an exit member function in ordered pipeline phase.
Yes. Why did I do that?
It's a bad name.
Right.
Very surprising to see exit in the code and not understanding what's.
In handle?
Yes.
It is. So exit means something else can go into the pipeline. They're exclusive, right?
What I mean is that exit is something that I expect to kill the program usually, not be part of it. Word that
It's
is.
symmetric with enter. The other one is enter.
I understand, but it's loaded. The name is so loaded that.
I could make it something else. But I thought of them as entering and exit a room. If you like, I don't know. I can make it take and release, but that makes it sound more like a lock than I'd really like it to be.
Enter something, exit something.
Yeah. This isn't that unusual
I
usage, I
prefer
think.
the exit.
Yeah, me too. Unless there's some other metaphor that works. But there may be pipeline phases that aren't exclusive. For instance, you could enforce order of exit as the same as order of entering without enforcing exclusivity. So that's why I chose this terminology. That might be useful later.
And again, if you can add comments.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, I did still leave comments on that. I forgot to do that last time.
Not much more.
But that's right. That's right. I didn't add comment to the other one. I just changed the name. Did you feel that what was it? I think I called it user private handle or something. Did you feel that was better and improved?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll add an enter and exit or explanations of what this means.
So not much more on my side. Still reading code and trying to press it.
Okay. I don't think there's a huge hurry unless someone's blocked on it. Actually, people may be blocked on it. From my perspective, it's essentially done. I was going to address whatever comments come up, of course, but I feel like it kind of does the job for now. It will definitely change going forward. Like, I just feel like this is as much as I'm going to get out of the current sort of state of the code until we start implementing the next set of stuff. So the question really is, given the last week, how do people feel about this overall way of doing things? Do we want to do things differently? Does this feel natural, or Tifu still had a concern?
Is it going?
Oh, just one question. If we remove the connection pipeline, does it work? Does the code still works?
No. I'm sorry, which connection pipeline?
The connection pipeline.
Oh, the two phases that are on the connection? I don't believe so. I believe they're actually necessary.
Yeah, but I found a bug that.
They weren't being used.
Yeah. Did you? So your code is working, right? But the connection.
I mean, sort of. In the sense that it starts up and runs, but we don't have a great deal of testing for this, so it wouldn't surprise me greatly if I did something incorrect.
Okay, so why the connection pipeline is separate for the client request and the peering request? So they are just exclusive for different kinds of requests, right?
That's the idea. I suppose, have combined them, but I felt that would not be as ideal. We don't really want client requests blocked behind peering requests, especially on. It's unclear. In general, only one of the two is going to be used because you don't get client requests from other OSDs and you don't get peering requests from clients. So in that sense, this is unnecessary. We could have two different OSD session or whatever I called it, OSD, whatever I stuck on the connection, we could have a different thing that's stuck on the connection for client connections and OSD connections. For OSD connections, though, we do have to maintain ordering of subops. So OSD, from OSD to OSD, those do still need to be ordered. I guess I'm saying that, what did you find was the bug?
You can.
Did I use the wrong one?
Yeah, the link I have a review.
Oh yes, all right. Oh, did I just use the wrong one or something? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, it seems that the let me see. The user private, that is the connection pipeline, right? Is not working currently. It always moves the old user private and doesn't set. So I assume that the pipeline itself is not used currently. So it still works without this pipeline.
Well, it would not work in the sense that it would misorder ops. Most tests wouldn't notice though.
Okay.
Oh, geez, that was stupid.
So I was wondering, it is just an optimization and.
No, it should segfault every time. Why is it segfaulting?
Okay.
Oh, you know what? I think when I did the rebase, I broke this. Yeah, no, I did a global find and replace when I was addressing. Yeah, that's what I did. Okay, I'll fix this. I must not have tested it after I did that. Yeah, you're right though. That would segfault. That wouldn't work at all.
Understand?
Oh, I've mainly been trying to sort of get a handle on BlueStor's latency properties this week, so I haven't done as much on Crimson. I expect this week to address any comments that come up with this.
Probably I will need to test your PI on locally and find some cases it could fail. And get this merged before the end of this week, and then we can continue working on replicate right. Anything?
Okay, so the first thing is the perf the perf improvement is implemented, but it hits another bug of preemptive socket closing. So it after it runs some second, it will close the connection preemptively, and there will be some bugs. So I'm writing up a fix to address this, but this will impact the performance. So I'm wondering to implement another version. But before that, I need to implement socket unit tests first. This one, and the purpose is to test the preemptive closing and also make sure that the new SeaStor versions can work as expected at the network layer. So that is my current status.
What do you mean by the new SeaStor?
So SeaStor code is continue evolving, right?
Yes. So
with this circuit level test, we can find out if the code behavior is different, because there are a lot of things I found that it is not documented how to use the interface. So it might be changed in the future, and we can find it at the first place using this, because
it's more like a sanity test against the feature we are using, document the feature we are using.
Yes, and there are a lot of different errors we are not aware of. So using this test, we can at least know which errors will be raised from the I/O interface. So, and to handle it in the messenger layer.
Okay. So any questions, guys? Otherwise, we will continue. Please go on.
A general question regarding errors and crashes. Are we? What is the? We had a long discussion in the meeting in the conference about it, about error handling. But one thing that I'm not sure I understand currently, how are we handling exceptions our code now? I didn't see too many try catch.
Def Classic uses extremely few exceptions. As far as I know, right now in Crimson, the only ones are in the networking code. And you don't see the try catch because they're caught by the SeaStor stuff.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear it.
You're not seeing the try catch because they're caught by the SeaStor machinery and propagated through that system.
Okay.
So you want to look at the SeaStor future methods and look for, I believe it's handle exception. Is that right?
And do with and the wrapper, whatever.
I'm sorry?
And they have the wrapper for passing the exception.
Not in this case. This is that code hasn't been modified, and I don't think it's worth going back and changing it just now. But that's just using the perfectly normal bog standard Crimson C++ exception propagation stuff. So when you throw an exception, the trampoline that spawned that lambda catches it, does some stuff, and propagates it down the future chain as appropriate. Does that make sense? I can't quite hear you now.
Or Hornan, are you talking about the error handling of the we were discussing back in Barcelona?
No, not yet. I'm talking about general current handling in the code now. Yeah. Thanks. That answers the.
Okay. So talk to you guys later. See you next week. If we're gonna
keep food.
Yes,
guys,
we can continue discuss the alignment of the messenger. If you
this meeting. Sure, let's stay.
I did want a little bit of closure on. You guys have spent some time reviewing it. Do you guys need more time, or are you basically are we actually happy with this layout, with this code layout, with the pipelines and stuff? Like, does it feel good, or does it feel not that good?
I'm okay-ish with it because I found that we are actually using the same framework in classic OSD, in throttler.
In what?
In throttler. It's actually block the. It actually stash the blocked operation in a local variable in throttler. So we can.
That's the word I'm not getting. In what? Throttler?
Throttler. Let me I'm not sure. In a network throttler, we're actually using the same naming and the same way to handle the blocked operations.
Oh.
I put it in the chat window. That's what we are already doing, so I'm fine with it.
Oh, and the throttler. Yes, okay.
Yeah. What I just don't like is that we are moving some logic outside of PG and OSD. But yes, I understand the philosophy of it, so I'm fine with it.
And this is a thing that other people are okay with?
I like it. I like the code.
Okay. Just checking. It's a little different from what the code was before, so I just wanted to make sure that people were looking at it at that level. I'm totally fine with doing it a different way. In other words. All right, cool. All right, that's all I've got.
Ridek and Yingxing, if you wanted to continue discussing the messenger alignment thing, probably we can just reuse this the blue gym room for the discussion.
Works for me.
Okay, sure.
Okay, if I sit in?
Sure.
Feel free. Okay, so currently we have on the table two possibilities. One is the two possible extensions to the SeaStor API. One is about the read exactly second.
Yes.
Second one is the input buffer factory.
Mhm.
And I believe we need to finally decide how we will shape the proposal to SeaStor folks. We can pick one of those variants or go with two of them.
I think we can first do some performance test, maybe get some data out of the two different implementations. And then, yeah, I think that's a first.
Ridek has already did some performance tests regarding to.
Yeah, but I need to evaluate my implementation I'm implementing that tool.
Sure.
Because of it.
But
and
with performance testing, there will be small issue. At the moment, we are able to do only the POSIX based implementation.
That's
testing with DPDK, and that might be a severe issue.
So what do you think of the two different ways to do that? I think your implementation has more control of how the memory is allocated.
Agreed.
But mine is a little simpler and continue to use the existing implementations and maybe add adaptive prefetching to improve the buffer sizes, but still maybe need more copies. But I don't know how the performance will look like or how the. So what do you think about that?
Well, I think that the buffer factory is more generic. It gives more, as you pointed, it gives more control to application. The main issue I'm seeing with read exactly is the DPDK case. I'm afraid that, well, if we want read exactly, works pretty nicely with POSIX, but I believe it's not intended for reading big chunks, because it's always the interface is about returning a one logically contiguous segment. And okay, for POSIX stack, it's not a problem. Because we are doing the mem copy, so we can the mem copy between kernel and user space. So we can always put a one huge buffer and done. But for DPDK, we would need to avoid fixing with transforming the scattered output of network stack. We would need to avoid the mem copy related to it. We would need to use. We would need to branch. We would need to avoid using it exactly, basing on some kind of stack detection. If it will look like if it's a DPDK stack, then don't care about alignment and go with read. Otherwise, we go with read exactly second and specify the alignment. I'm feeling that conceptually it's affecting. Well, it's contrary to the to the abstraction, SeaStor folks put a lot of effort in. But just take a look. They try to abstract the way how application interact with network stacks.
I think that's it's only our user case that can allow that using DBDK the data can be fragmented, and we can just use read fragmented because we don't require, it is not a requirement. So read exactly, I think it is a requirement to make the memory continuously. This is a requirement. So it even for DBDK, if it is required to be contiguous,
well,
it should be implemented like that. So if we don't need it to be contiguous, really continuous, we can use read fragmented ourselves.
Well, I got the impression that read fragmented is a concept from our abstraction of input of SeaStar's socket. In SeaStar, in input stream of SeaStar, there is not fragmented. There is read, there is consume, and there is read exactly. I can recall only those three methods related to extract to payload extraction from socket.
What do you mean by that?
Is it read,
just that I'm a bit confused with the read fragmented.
My impression is SeaStar input stream. The SeaStar when we read from SeaStar network, and SeaStar provide two kinds of interfaces to us. One is read, and another is read exactly. And the read allows us to allows the buffer to be fragmented and from the network stack. And read exactly means we need the buffer to be continuous. So it doesn't mean that it's just a user requirement. It doesn't care what's the network stack.
But the proposal for alignment is about read exactly.
Yes,
not
alignment.
About the pure read. Yes.
And our alignment is a hint. It's not a requirement, right? According to our last discussion.
It's a hint because, well, at the messenger level, basically we don't want to know about specific requirement of not only of object store, of particular device driver of object store. It's put very far away from messenger, and fixing the memory layout there, basing on requirement of very far entity. Well,
So my opinion is that read exactly is a requirement. So we require it to be continuous, and we require it to be aligned. And if we need a hint, it means that it doesn't require to be continuous or the aligned. It's just better to be aligned or continuous. We can pass it to the read fragmented.
Just take a look let's take the AIO write of BlueStar's kernel device as an example. Kernel device AIO write. We are thinking about the alignment, I believe only because of it. because in BlueStor we are doing we are using AIO and direct I/O of Linux. It puts some extra requirements on the alignment of memory. But just take a look. We started with the read exactly second proposal. We started thinking that it must be one huge contiguous segment, just one piece of memory, just one chunk of memory. But it's not true. The strict requirement of the AIO write in BlueStor is that you have a restricted, limited number of segments in your scatter-gutter list, and those segments needs to be aligned. It's weaker requirement.
Oh.
But at the level of Messenger, for I believe for a long time, we weren't aware about that. And that's the reason why we thought the read exactly is a good place. It's the problem of
even if it is segmented, it still needs to be aligned.
Yes. But it doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be one single segment. And exactly, I believe, is a misuse of the entire input stream interface. I personally make a bet that read exactly is mostly for interpreting headers. In Messenger, we have the same need. There are some short headers, like 32 bytes, that must be contiguous. Even if we got a buffer list, if we got a scatter-gutter from network, we would make the main copy to get single chunk, to make it flatten on our own, because we want to reinterpret cast to a pointer to some of packet struct. And I bet SeaStor folks have had similar issues, and then they introduced the read exactly as some kind of higher level utility, some kind of helper.
Yes.
And I bet also that reading huge chunks is not the use case of it. It's not use case for it, because it's terribly inefficient. It's implemented in a terrible way if it needs to work on adjacent on separated chunks. Till it works on single chunk, till it works on small, till it serves small requests, the likelihood of going with the mem copy path is very small, and it's fast in such a situation. But if it needs to, if you are using it, if you use it to read huge segment, you are not only getting the terrible number of memcop of syscall, terrible amount of memcop, but also your entire stack is getting very, very deep. Each 8 kilo request is translated into extra stack frames. As in profiling, when I'm doing for my writes, I was able to see a stack trace like 600 of frames. It was ridiculously long. They are not using the iteration. They are just making recursion, and it's not tile optimizing. There is no tile optimization of this recursion. It makes that each recursive call, it's reflected in a separated stack frame. It's terribly inefficient if you use it to read big things. for small things like headers, it's really good. It's okay. That's one of the reasons why I think that makes me think that the intended interface for reading bigger things is read or consume.
Yes, I agree. So that's our. We need to change our code because currently in V2 we are using read exactly to read the data.
Yes, I know.
We just changed read exactly to the read.
Yes, I did it in the pull request in the one queues of the input sorry. At the moment, we use the read exactly only for three things: reading banner during the initial exchange, reading preamble, and reading. That's all.
Yeah. So, what's the difference if we use the existing read interface to read out the data section, or use the input buffer factory to read out the data section?
Well, the difference is that without any extensions like buffer factory or extra parameter, wouldn't handle the alignment. Which means that in case of using the AIO, in case of using the direct IO of Linux, you would need to do extra memcopy.
You mean the data segments are not aligned, right? The data segment is required to be aligned, like 4K.
Yeah. Page size under the assumption we want to go with AIO, with direct IO of Linux.
So what about the DBDK stack? Because the DBDK ignores the factory.
Sure.
So it is
entirely
okay aligned. So how to handle that?
Two cases. The primary one. I don't think that somebody will use DPDK without SPDK. It's very unlikely to me. If you are accessing your network with DPDK, very likely you will have also SPDK. That's my assumption. And the low-level NVMe driver of SPDK is good. It's fine with handling, with not having the segments aligned. There is no single word about in the documentation about the need to have those segments aligned to 4K. That's one thing.
That the memory sent to SPDK should be allocated using the DBDK pool. We have read the source another day.
In most cases, but I'm not entirely sure it always needs to be made that way. The requirement we saw in the documentation is that as a single chunk of the scatter gutter you are passing to NVMe driver, it must be physically contiguous. Which means if you are using the MBUF, I bet the MBUF size in DPDK is around half of page. And I would be very surprised if it's not aligned to page boundary. It's just my suspicious. It will need verification. But well, even if we need to inject extra, even if we need to go with dedicated SPDK's memory allocator, it's still fine. DPDK allows you to provide your own allocator.
So this is for
handling. Oh, sorry, please continue.
So in order to manage the DPTK memory allocator, we still need to use it through the SeaStor interface, right?
Yes,
To the
we
what?
would need to inject. We would need to make. I believe we will need to integrate SPDK with SeaStor if we need to inject our allocator.
That's still complicated. Yes.
Yeah, a bit. Yep. But
So
if we are lucky, there is no need to do that because the apps already will be already full filing all the requirements the SPDK and VME driver need.
yes,
But
and
this
we
is
are
about the.
Yeah, and we are enforcing that if we use DPTK, we must use SPDK, right?
Of course, there is. We need to. It's unlikely that somebody wants to use slow storage stack with very fast network stack, but we still need to support this combination, and we will do.
So we will not force it.
Of course, we are not. We don't want to force people to use SPDK, not at all. But even if this would stay, even if somebody would go with DPDK for networking and kernel for storage, in that way we will be doing basically the same what the BlueStor kernel device is doing right now. Bufferlist has a special facilities for fulfilling requirements of Linux Direct IO. It means that it boils down in serving two requirements: restricted number of segments in this getter list. It cannot exceed the IOV underscore max. Second one is that each chunk must be page at page boundary and multiple of page size. It's rebuilt.
To be
Yeah,
alignment.
it's rebuilt size and memory aligned, something like that, on buffer list.
So how? That's side note. How are we going to include this discussion in some decision on what of the two options are we going to try to push? We are discussing more or less the same things again and again, and we didn't reach a final conclusion.
I think my solution cannot make each segment aligned when the data is segmented. I cannot, using my interface, I cannot do that.
Yeah, I don't think your change could please the AIO case where we need every segment to be a block aligned.
Yeah.
So it's decision by default. There is only one option now on the table.
Yeah, according to Redox, if there is really a requirement for that one, I think really exactly 2 cannot do that.
Technically speaking, a single segment aligned to at page boundary is still fulfilling the requirements of Direct IO, I believe.
But that's not performant.
But at the yes, not for DPDK. It would hurt DPDK, but for POSIX stacks, stack it's fine, I believe.
Yeah, sure. So
POSIX stack we will memory copy anyway, but
yeah, I think it means that if we use really exactly 2, we need to let SeaStor tell us which network stack it is using, and then we can switch to really exactly.
CLD does not do the network storage. They are doing the NoSQL. So I don't think they need to transport a lot of chunk from the network down to the storage. We have different needs, I think.
Yeah, if we can read that configuration, we can still use read exactly to, and we can switch to read exactly. And
Yes, but it will be that's the problem. I meant as lack of uniformity in the interface.
Sorry?
It would enforce you. This approach would enforce you to use different methods, different language, basically, of interacting with network stack, basing on some kind of, I believe, a private implementation detail of SeaStor. You will need to expose to application. In SeaStor, will need to expose, will need to tell, or just answer application, and will need to tell application which particular network stack is being in use. And the application will need to branch on it, will to differentiate the way how it interacts with SeaStor's networking. It hurts the uniformity of the interface. I debate a lot for having uniform interface. We have a lot of virtuals there, and now we will need to introduce the extra branching.
I think it's the application who tells the Reactor which backend it should be using. It's passed in as a parameter, if I recall correctly. So we don't need to add an interface for this for such kind of information. Which backend it should be using.
I'm not entirely sure. I believe it's a hint. Let's say what if you build SeaStor? What if you're telling SeaStor to use DPDK? But you're lacking a network card able to speak DPDK. Isn't it defaulting to POSIX stack? Or even if it's I believe this behavior actually will be a private implementation detail of SeaStor. And still exposing it to application, it just breaks the isolation of responsibilities.
I don't think the idea of using it as a hint instead of just saying this is a parameter, good one. It adds complexity, and that we don't need to handle. I think whoever is configuring the system knows and should be able to understand if DPDK is available, if SPDK is available, and make everything should be clear, and we should only handle one option, not a hint.
Yes, because SeaStor has only has two stacks, the POSIX stack and native stack, and it means that I think it doesn't make sense if we choose to use native stack and finally the SeaStor find that the DPDK is not working and it changed to use socket like POSIX part of the implementation by itself. I think it doesn't make sense.
I'm reading the reactor.cc and the dpdk_rt.cc in SeaStor. We actually passed the option to enable the DPDK support. If it's enabled, if the reactor or SeaStor find it's unable to initiate DPDK, it will bear out. Period. So it's
okay,
it just
but
failed.
If I see, but it's still in SeaStor. Yep, it's a private implementation detail of SeaStor. It's not a part of the interface.
No,
it's part of the interface.
We just said to the system what to use it. If it fails, okay, that's a bug, that's a problem. This is how we should treat it. It's not in some internal detail of system.
We actually pass
handling
the argument to a command line argument to, or as an option, settings to SeaStor and enable this support. If it fails to do so, it fails. So it's not an internal. It's not internal to SeaStor. It's an interface to the user of a SeaStor. I strongly suggest you to take a look at React.cc and search underscore using dpdk to see how it's used and how it's initiated.
Okay.
So it's not. We SeaStor does not detect the existence or availability of dpdk. It just checks the arguments passed to it.
But though, what's the source of the configuration parameter? Is it a command line user or application?
Command
code?
line. It's a
Command line. So not the application. It's just user operator.
I think so. We can also. I do think we can also, as a user of the SeaStor library, we can also set this option as a command, command line or programmatically.
Well, what I want to point out is that what I'm trying to point out is that handling networks in non-uniform way, one with read exactly second, another one with just read, would need to make our application, to make Crimson OSD aware about the choice.
I think
at the moment,
I think it's our requirement.
I
think it's our requirement. We require that if we use dpdk, we accept it is fragment, and if we use POSIX,
we need requirement. It's you are trying to make this decision in Messenger.
Yes.
Requiring knowledge that is available in not even in object store, in object store's storage driver. It's very far away. And just take a look. It's just the AIO, right? It's a perfect example of it. You put with read exactly, using exactly, you would put more, you will put stricter requirements on network side that are absolutely necessary to handle the case. Linux AIO doesn't need to have only one single segment. It can handle scatter-gutter up to AIO under the assumption that each segment is aligned at 4K. And moreover, it's just one driver. Even now, even in BlueStor, we have 3 of them. One is SPDK, one is for PMEM, one is for Linux AIO. If we would want to make Messenger a good choice, we would need to interconnect. We would need to have an interface between object store and between particular driver of object store and Messenger. It's a pain.
No, it's just network stack. If network stack is, it's just a matter of, it doesn't care the object store backend. It just checks the network stack is dpdk or it is not.
I think it's to get full advantage of the stack, we need to, in the OSD, when it's put up, we need to figure out what combination is the best choice. If it's a dpdk, we need to. If it's
I believe that's the reason.
Yeah.
I believe that's the reason why we have the 4K, why we have the alignment field in a protocol. It's some kind of hint that this particular payload is a data, and it's nice to have the data properly aligned, because it's usually many storage drivers are like to have data aligned to 4K. But it's only nice to have. If the network stack is not, if the network stack is not able, it's not efficient, or if it requires some extra work at the level of network stack, just forget about it, and let the storage driver fix the memory placement, because the storage driver has the best knowledge about requirements of particular storage device. Let's to exemplify. Let's go with let's consider the case of using DPDK for networking and Linux AIO for storage. It's a hint. 4K aligned data, please. However, DPDK would need to do extra memory copy to fulfill this hint. So it ignores it. It produces a scatter list with huge number of cells, and it passes it to object store. Usually, I believe the object store won't need to do anything to fix the incoming buffer list, because it will be SPDK. Cool, it works out of the box. No mem copy, no extra work. But of course, there might be some kind of object store requiring putting extra requirements on the shape of buffer list, like the AIO. So we need to do the mem copy. However, we'll do the mem copy. We'll need to do the extra work regardless of the stack. All we are doing is basically postponing. It's postponing the mem copy till data reaches the storage driver, which has the best knowledge about the intended shape of the input to storage. If we would have done our extra work, the rectifying of input of network data at the level of the network stack, we will meet the point that we don't need a single contiguous segment. That's the benefit of postponing the rectification.
Yes, if I understand correctly, the protocol v2 alignment is only a hint for the messenger, right? And if messenger knows which network stack it uses, it can switch to read exactly or read interface itself, because messenger has a total control of the network stack.
But why would the
messenger knows it's a hint? It's a messenger.
I know, sure. Of course.
Messenger can switch
what's the
to
reason
read exactly and read.
But what's the reason for doing read exactly? Read exactly has stronger. It requires more work that is necessary to rectify the payload, even for Linux AIO.
Because messenger knows read exactly has a very good performance with POSIX stack.
Well, I don't agree. The read doing the plain read doing alignment on the segments could be even more performant.
Radek, the main target, I don't like the idea that the main target, our main objective is getting the layering correct. The main target is getting the performance right, and I don't see.
Yes.
I don't see the value in postponing the decisions that we know in advance. There is a specific configuration.
We don't know.
It's
That's the
about
key point. We don't know. There will be multiple drivers of storage, and making assumptions in Messenger about those requirements is just a bad way of handling the things. And moreover, yep, in buffer fact, I believe buffer fact. Sorry, please continue.
Kifu try to say something.
Yes, I think I tried to understand the Redux the opinion. I think the whole idea is to try to encapsulate the difference between to decouple the needs between of the object store and what the messenger can offer. So the idea is to design to make a decision later and let the object store to do what is good for it. So what the messenger can do is to instead of to make the decision on behalf of the object store to send them what they can have with the minimum efforts. What's the minimum efforts we can take? The fragment and aligned segments. That's what we can do. What we can have with least efforts and with the best results.
Exactly. That's the reason why Buffer Factory is voluntary for both application and SeaStor networking.
If I understand correctly, the idea is to have to start with a scatter gather list either from DPDK and you have specific alignment, and from if it's subnets, that's fine too. We still have a scatter gather list with all the elements, either with the data either in one block or more than one block.
Exactly.
Possibly aligned. And then what you're saying is we can postpone the decision of what alignment is required until the last minute.
Of course. Possibly alignment. That's the keyword you mentioned. Possibly aligned. Possibly means if it costs nothing. And that's the case of POSIX stack. Making aligned memory, making the buffers aligned, the segments aligned in case of POSIX stack is basically free. Because you already have you are already doing the mem copy between between kernel space and user space. That's the point.
Yes,
okay,
but it wouldn't be free in case of DPDK. That's the reason why for DPDK we would do nothing at the layer of network stack and allow the particular driver of object store to make the decision.
But lost you, Radek? Okay.
Sorry, I've got network glitch.
Remind me, how does it work when we're using sockets and we are the encryption is used, which I assume is what we mostly have. We still have we won't be able to use the original blocks.
Of course, and that's another very interesting case. Well, memory or encryption or something like that is basically a transformata that can fulfill to make the 4K alignment almost for free.
But then you have to do it in a higher layer than the actual writing. You have to do it against what you're saying. You have to do it earlier in the process.
But not entirely about on the messenger on the. Well, I can recall that I proposed preserving the 4K hint with the scatter gutter list, just for the encountering an encryption. It would for the DPDK case, it would mean that if we are doing the encryption at SeaStor without QAT or something like that, we would use this transfer meta to get the 4K alignment. Because in such situation, doing the 4K alignment will be for free.
But earlier in the process, that's what
consistent with the.
Could be
okay. In such case.
So yeah, continue.
In such case, the target, the destination buffer for decryption will be 4K aligned, because there is very little. There is no difference. There is no difference in aligning in allocating aligned buffer versus allocating unaligned buffer. It can be neglected. The cost of doing that can be neglected, and as a result, we are getting the nice 4K alignment that can be used for object store drivers. We are getting it for free, just like in the case of POSIX stack.
Yeah, we cannot be worse.
We are not worsening the situation. We are not doing unnecessary extra job, unnecessary extra work.
So, is there any objections regarding to?
No, no, I have no objections, because it is actually a new requirement for the SeaStor to pass a hint to the IO stream.
Yeah, that's
it's a new requirement.
Yes, it's sorry guys, it's we've written we written the B2 with the 4K mentioned as a requirement, but I believe it's a hint.
Yeah,
it's just a hint. We shouldn't be terrified by it.
Yes, because we have the hint.
It's just hint.
And SeaStor doesn't implement it such hint. So that's why we need
not at the moment.
Yeah, so that's why we need to propose our own implementations. And previously, why I'm implementing my read exactly too, because I think that's a requirement. That's not a hint.
I see. You was thinking that even in the case of DPDK, we always need to provide aligned buffers. Always.
Yeah, aligned or not. Yeah, yes. Yes, that's my original thought. And if it is a hint, I cannot support that, because the reading exactly two is a requirement for alignment and continue.
Okay, so we have a winner. The ABKVT said, okay, if you want to change something, start a discussion in SeaStor discussion lists. I think this is what we should do. We should propose this and raise the topic in the SeaStor group.
Yep, we need to go to the community.
On the same idea, we need to forward this discussion to the SeaStor dev mailing list. So I think we are good now.
Yeah,
we're ready to propose this idea to SeaStor. Do we plan to send a mail to it?
I'm going to just reuse some sub-chapters from the document we made about input buffer factory. By the way, in Poland, we have tomorrow a holiday, so there is a long weekend here.
Okay, enjoy your holiday. So you will send the mail after the holiday, right?
Likely so.
Okay.
How long is your holiday?
2 days, just the end of this week.
Enjoy it.
Thanks.
Okay. Looking forward to your mail, and have a good day, and have a good long weekend.
Have a good
Thank
day,
you, guys.
everybody. Bye.
See you.
Have a nice day.
Next
Bye.
week.
See you.